welcome back and happy Tuesday. We are coming to you from Sundance, Utah, and I am joined by a very dear friend of mine, which I am so excited that we're in the same place at the same time.
I know, and we're so close I can hug you.
Yay! All the way from New York to Utah, closer to my home. Okay, so this week we're going to be talking about financial advocacy. And I thought a lot about it, and there's really no one better that I can think of to talk about this than you. So this is Jane Barratt, who is the Chief Advocacy Officer of MX and the former CEO of Goldbean. So Jane, financial advocacy, what does that mean to you? What are we thinking about?
So the idea of financial advocacy is always about the customer, like the humans of the world, not the people who work at institutions. So how can we as an industry improve financial outcomes for the humans of the world? And that comes from a strategic perspective, a policy perspective, a technology perspective. Like, it needs to cover a lot of ground. But if you start with this idea of we want to move people's financial lives forward, it's an amazing strategic platform to build a business on.
And so from your experience, both as the founder of Goldbean and now and as your current one with MX, how do you see that playing out in the real world from a startup as well as a bigger startup with MX?
So it plays out in a number of ways. I mean, product design is a huge part of it. So what are we actually putting in front of people as an industry? And if you really are truly honest with yourselves, we haven't moved that far forward. It's still very much a product-driven relationship. Here's a checking account, here's a credit card, here's a mortgage. Instead of, what are your goals? Where are you? Let's meet you where you are and move you to the next phase of your life. And so it plays out in a number of ways in terms of organizational design. Like, who owns the customer is often marketing, right? And marketing's goal is to sell more product. So can be inherently really challenging to have that advocacy first mindset. This is something that credit unions have done really well from the inception, which is how do we help our members? But from an industry-wide perspective, advocacy plays out in, it is still very much early days. I think when you saw the CEO Roundtable announcement a couple of weeks ago with Jamie Dimon saying we now have multiple stakeholders, it's not just the people who own our stock, that was an amazing planting of flag of an advocacy message.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other big CEOs from our industry who were part of that too. So
Yes,
there's a
that's
lot
true.
of talk around that. So when we've had so many conversations about what's happening in our industry. What is frustrating you the most right now? Like, what's not moving the pace that you wish it was?
So I think there is a somewhat of a checkerbox mentality around literacy, right? We're investing in financial education. We really care about financial literacy. And that is fundamentally a monodirectional use case, right? I've given you a blog post. I've given you a video. And I say this with love as a financial educator myself, so I do have true experience in this, that it isn't enough to change people's behavior. And it isn't enough to address some of the systemic issues in society, like wage stagnation, inflation, underemployment, right? There's a lot going on that just having a budget and reading a blog post can't actually address. So that is what is frustrating, where there's a lot of good intention around education without really deep understanding of what it takes to move people's financial lives forward.
Okay, so I think we have a pretty good idea of where it is at now. So where does advocacy go moving forward from here?
I mean, there's so many ways that we can fundamentally change our economy, let alone just financial services. And so if you think of where are we with financial data now? I mean, the conversation is all around how do you access your data. So it's almost like a privilege to be able to access and share your financial data.
Yep.
The technology is still lagging, but there isn't a long-term vision around what that actually could mean, right? So if let's just say you're a lower income person, you're struggling with debt, you're actually worth a lot of money to predatory lenders, to loan providers. How is that person who is struggling with money not getting any benefit from their own data? So this idea of data as currency is something that we're really passionate about. We truly believe that sort of the construct of open banking is something that will move us towards a mid to longer term future, where, if a bank can be the fiduciary and the holder of my money, could they be the fiduciary and holder of my data, right? There's still a lot of steps to go in terms of how do you set value and what are the exchange mechanisms. But I think there is an amazing opportunity for the industry right now to start thinking bigger term or longer term and bigger picture around just how can we help people. I mean, I would personally love to have a separate income stream that is me monetizing my data, not Facebook and Google and everybody else.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. The ownership of data is such a compelling topic, and I think it's ever evolving. So it's exciting to see the role that you're taking there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jane. As always, a pleasure. Please click the link below to see the full interview with Jane and I. And of course, there will be an article with some very interesting facts about this brilliant woman next to me that were not shared in the interview. And until next week, signing off.
Thank you.
Bye.